So, very good morning to all of you. So friends, today we are going to discuss about the admissibility of the illegally acquired evidence, the evidence which is acquired using the spyware. We know that installing the spyware is one of the criminal act for which a person is liable for the punishment of 3 years. But still, the hackers, people at large, are using the spyware for collecting the electronic evidence. No doubt, it is a criminal offense, but when it comes to the admissibility of its evidence, let us discuss what our court says. Let me share my PPT. So recently there was a judgment of Delhi High Court where this issue has come before the court for adjudication. The fact of the case are that there was a dispute between husband and wife, and husband, without the knowledge of the wife, had installed a spyware in the mobile of the wife, also installed a CCTV camera in the bedroom, and recorded the video, recorded the other evidence without the knowledge and consent of the wife. Subsequently, the husband used that particular evidence, which was collected through spyware, in one of the matrimonial case against the wife. So then the issue which was there before the court was whether the data, such as the video and audio evidences, SMS, etc., which have been illegally acquired by the husband using the spyware, would be admissible or not, and if they are admissible, what would be the liability of the husband for installing the spyware. So when it comes to the turn of the wife has raised 4 issues. The first issue which was raised by the wife, that this evidence is illegally acquired by committing an offense, so it should not be admissible. And subsequently, it was also contended that the content which are being produced in the court, acquired through the spyware, are manipulated, fabricated, and there is no authenticity, so it should not be admissible. And the another point which have been raised regarding the privacy, the content were the recording of the conversation without the knowledge of the parties, without their consent, and it violates the privacy, so it should not be admissible. And in the last, it was contended that because the husband has committed an offense by illegally putting the spyware into the mobile, husband is liable for punishment under section 354D of the IPC. In response to this, the husband has given its own argument. Number 1, that the right of privacy is not an absolute right, but it is subject to certain exception, and husband contended that within that exception, he has a right to rely upon that particular evidence, and the wife's right to the privacy has to give way to the husband's right to prove his case. As far as the issue of the forgery which have been raised by the wife, husband contended that let the court appoint an expert who will forensically examine it and who will give its finding as far as the authenticity is concerned. Now, court, after hearing the contention of both the parties, relied upon the 2 judgments of the Supreme Court. First is the MP Sharma, where the Supreme Court has opined that merely because a search or seizure was illegally conducted and may amount to the breach of a fundamental right, but that would not make search or seizure invalid in law. So that means still the content which have been recovered from these search and seizure would be admissible. The another judgment which the court referred is the Puran Mal versus Director of Prosecution, where the court has observed that the test of admissibility lies in its relevancy. Unless there is an express or implied prohibition in the constitution or in any other law obtained as a result of the illegal research or seizure is not liable to be shut out. So simply the court has stated, until there is a law which says the evidence which comes from the such illegal act or illegal seizure is not admissible, court can always look into these evidences. So ultimately the court had first appreciating that authenticity in such cases may be an issue. So the High Court has given the direction that the trial court must look into the authenticity and genuineness of the evidence. Another point which the court has referred is since such recording contains the data which violates the privacy of the individual, so the proceedings should be conducted strictly within the bound of decency and propriety. Now coming to the illegal act done by the husband, court stated that if some illegality has been done, the husband is liable to face the consequences. And while referring to the contention of the wife regarding the privacy, the court held that no doubt privacy is recognized as a fundamental right, but that alone would not make evidence collected in breach of that right inadmissible. So it would be admissible, and ultimately the court concluded that such evidences would be admissible, but the husband would be liable for the illegality which is done by the husband. So that means if some offense is done while collecting some such evidences, then the party who is collecting that particular piece of evidence, the party who is doing that particular offense, would be liable to face the trial for that particular offense. And the court in the last held that rule of evidence favor a liberal approach in aid to the dispensation of the justice, and merely the fact that this evidence have been acquired illegally will not make it inadmissible. So the ultimately, in brief, the evidence would be admissible subject to the authenticity, but the party who has collected it illegally would be liable to face the consequences for such illegal act. But the evidence would be admissible. So friends, while using the spyware, we need to keep in mind that just putting the spyware would make us liable for the offense, and particularly when we are going to use such evidence, using such evidence, reliance on it itself prove our act of unauthorizedly accessing and putting the spyware, and would make the person liable for punishment. Thank you.